Does it look like my head's too small for my body?
No,
Do I look weird?
no.
I feel like my camera looks so weird right now.
It's like long ways for some reason. I don't know why. Not quite
It's
sure.
it's like vertical or is it
Yeah, it's like vertical this way.
it's weird.
We're recording too, so this is gold for the podcast.
Okay. Sweet. All right. Well, yeah, I'm good to go when you are.
Cool, man. James, this is really sweet. I told you earlier, like beforehand, I was talking about my buddy who had his son. He was fixing up a bike, and you were helping him, and he had nothing but like awesome things to say about you. He was like, "Man, this guy, he's been looking up for somebody to help him with his bike for so long. He couldn't find any place or anybody, and you just helped him out with it and gave him a bunch of information." So he shared like your page with me because I like all the BMX and action sports stuff. And then I saw your little company that you started, and I'm like, this thing's so rad. I got to get James on to talk about this. And you said yes. I'm like, yeah, sweet. And here we are.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'm stoked to do it.
So when like the bike riding stuff, and as far as that goes, when did you start bike riding, like um and BMX and doing all that stuff?
So pretty much it was in '99 I started racing. I lived in Florida before I moved here, and my parents took me to our local BMX track, and yeah, I started off racing in '99, and pretty much that's what got me into it because I just was at the track all the time and was doing racing stuff, and then slowly got into the whole like skate park side of things and like built dirt jumps in my backyard because we had like a pretty big yard and my dad would help us build jumps or ramps or whatever. So it was, yeah, that's kind of started off racing and then gradually just went from there into skate parks and then trying tricks. And then I had a younger brother that was riding as well. And yeah, we would just, compete back and forth and push each other to progress and stuff. So that's kind of what happened.
I like that. Like the pushing each other to progress is crazy. Did you meet a lot of people right off the bat when you started doing the skating stuff, or did you kind of know a bunch of people from the racing scene? It's wild to me. I know I'm going to go off on something weird right now. I love Rad, the movie. It was like my favorite movie growing up. I wore
Yeah.
that tape out. It's awesome. And I never could find an organized like racing thing when I was younger, like when that came out. So I couldn't
Yeah.
find an organized like dirt track where I lived in the valley. So it's always funny to me to see that there's actually still a scene of that going on to this day.
Yeah. I mean, the whole racing side of things is like it was, I mean, 2012 I think was the first time that they were in the Olympics. So that was like kind of when I realized like, oh, this is not going anywhere. Like if it's just getting into the Olympics, like it's going to be a thing for a while now. And then like the BMX community, at least like racing side of things, that's how I met a lot of people and made a lot of connections and stuff because we would travel around to different races and stuff when I was growing up. My parents would take me, and yeah, it was kind of funny though because most of the people that I rode with at the track were different than the people I rode with at the skate park. So there was like two different sides of BMX and two different groups of people that I ended up hanging out with. So it was kind of cool to like be associated with both groups, but still get to see like the good side of each.
And what made you drift more towards this, or do you still do the racing stuff?
I don't do racing anymore. Pretty much I stopped just when I got older and my parents were like, "Well, if you want to keep doing it, like go for it, but we're not gonna pay for your stuff anymore." And then that's when I was like supporting myself financially and I was like, yeah, this is a pretty expensive sport like for just like a kid that's in high school. So I kind of got out of it at that point and wasn't really into the whole competitive side of things either. I kind of just wanted to ride for fun and yeah, that's kind of why I got out of it is I just kind of got over the whole competitive side of things and people were getting too serious. It was like getting to the point where if they weren't gonna win, they would do anything they could to like wreck you. So it was like I don't know. It just wasn't worth it because I wasn't really getting out of anything out of it. And sometimes I'd get hurt just because people were like, they'd do anything to win. So I was like, yeah, it's not really worth it anymore, you know?
It really is like the movie then.
Yeah. Yeah. It's pretty close. Maybe a little bit more advanced
That's so
bikes and like track building, but yeah, pretty close.
that's hilarious. I would have never thought that the BMX dudes would like try to wreck you like that on purpose. Like the that's weird. Seems weird to me.
Yeah. It's pretty crazy. I mean, people take that stuff pretty seriously, even if it's just like a local race where you don't win money, you win points. Like they just add up throughout the year, you know. There's not really any real benefit to it, and people just they get real serious about it and real competitive. So
That's hilarious. So what so then you go through this like you switch over to doing more street stuff because obviously that's like calling your name type of stuff, like that sort of stuff. You like bowls, flatland, like what are you mainly focusing on when you switch out of that?
um it was mostly the closest skate park I had to where I was living. I lived like in the middle of nowhere in Florida, so we didn't have any skate parks, but the closest one that I had near me was in a town called Jupiter, and Abacoa Skate Park was like the first park I started going to like on a weekly basis. And then I just kind of after I was done with the racing thing, that was like that was what replaced it. I would just go to that skate park over and over again, and then like we had some like I was saying, we built dirt jumps in our yard. So me and my brother were building up those for when the skate park sessions weren't going, like because there was like dedicated bike sessions, like you weren't allowed to just go anytime. So we
What?
on the days, yeah, it was crazy. They had like it was only Tuesday, Thursday, 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. or whatever were like the bike sessions, and then the rest of it was skateboarding like any other time. So we're kind of limited on skate park hours, so we had to figure out what else to do when we couldn't go to the skate park, and that was the only one that was even close enough to go.
That's wild that they made that rule. Why would they make that rule? That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I've realized now that that's pretty common. Like after living in a couple other places and traveling around there's a lot of skate parks that have designated bike hours now, and like only bike sessions, or like bikes are only allowed to be included with the skaters at this time, or it's really weird. I don't really get it, but I don't know. That's just how things are sometimes at those types of skate parks.
Is that to this day, like right now they do that?
Yeah, actually, I went to a skate park on Tuesday night. That the bike session is it's only bikes are from 7:15 to 9:30 p.m. on Tuesdays. So that's like the only day that I can make it there because it's the only day they allow bikes. So it's just so weird that it's still like that. I mean, it's getting more and more to the point where everybody's kind of included, but there are still a couple out there that you can only ride on certain days.
I mean, because I like to see, like, I love to see the BMX guys. They're awesome, man. The stuff that's done is like blows my mind. Like, these kids are really, this is awesome. They're super entertaining. The stuff they do in their minds, I'm like, holy crap, man, that's wild. You're doing that with a piece of metal flying through the air, with like things that can stab you if you fall, and all sort and
Yeah.
going fast. It's really, really awesome to watch. You can just sit there and hang out and watch, and everybody in the BMX community that I've ever met has always been super nice, like at skate parks. So I don't understand why the separation between the two. I mean, I'd want to go and see you guys rip it up.
Yeah, and I mean, every time I've been to a skate park that is like includes everyone, like the local one here that I go to is in Costa Mesa, and that one's that one includes everyone. There's nobody like running the park or anything. It's just an open park, and I've made friends with a lot of the skaters. There's even like a whole group of like roller skaters that come out now too, and we all just we all ride together. We just take turns, and we're all supporting each other. And people, it's funny, like the skaters are like, it's crazy that you're doing this stuff on a bike, like you can't bail. And I'm like, yeah, well, it's crazy that you're doing this on a skateboard because you can hit a rock and just go flying. Like it's all from different people's perspectives. It's crazy.
It's what you're used to. Like I rollerblade, so it's and I never in my lifetime growing up through the '90s doing it thought I would ever have a skateboarder say, "Dude, I don't know how you do that with those things on your feet." I would fall down. I'm like, wow, that's crazy that this situation is going on. But I think it's all what you're used to because I mean now you got scooter kids that tear things up, and some kids can do all of the different things, which is really neat to see. Like them just get all the experiences in, but it really just is what like your balance points, what you've practiced, your muscle memory, and all that is what I'm assuming.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, I've seen, I've still shown up to the skate park and there's somebody that is switching back and forth between skateboards, roller skates, roller blades, scooters. Like they're just on, they'll hop on a bike and like they can just do all of it. But then there's the one person that's just like on a skateboard and they're just looking at you on a bike and they're like, "You're crazy dropping in this bowl on a bike. Like I would never do that." But I mean, that's how I feel about their sport. So yeah, it's all just what you're used to, you know?
So what brought on starting this for the experience? And explain to people exactly what and me too, because I purposely didn't look up like a crazy amount. I read the bio a little bit and kind of the blog, a couple little stories or whatever in there. But I purposely want to kind of find out from like your perspective what it's all about, how it started, and all that.
Okay. So then after I went to college, I moved up to Orlando and met a couple people in the BMX scene up there. And and I was living with a couple friends and we would always just like it was like the dumbest little things. Like we'd go to the skate park and then after the skate park, we'd go eat at this like Tex-Mex place down the road. And and one of my friends was always so broke and he's like, "Well, I'm gonna go, but I'm not gonna eat because I can't afford it. I'll just go for the experience." And we would just say that like in random situations, like for like little things. And then it kind of started off where we were, I think the first like big trip that we did was we were like, it was just like one random night. We're riding around the campus at UCF, University of Central Florida, where we were going at the time. And we're just riding around the campus. And then our friend that lives in New Orleans hit us up and he's like, "Hey, you guys should come visit. Like Mardi Gras is going on. You should come visit sometime." I was like, "Well, that'd be cool." You know, saying like that would be cool to do one day. And then my friend was like, "Why don't we just go now?" And I was like, "Well, I mean, we could, but it's like 10 p.m. right now. We'd get there at like, I don't know, 10 a.m. tomorrow. Like, what? You want to go right now?" He's like, "Yeah, let's just go home. We'll pack up our stuff and we'll go right now." And I was just like, "I don't see why not." So then he's like, "Let's just go for the experience." And then that's kind of what started it. And we just did the trip. We drove all night, got there, rode a bunch of different skate parks, rode around town, like saw what Mardi Gras was all about. And then we ended up driving back Sunday. And I think we ended up, I think we were driving probably about the same amount of time that we were actually there. It ended up calculating out that way. But I mean, it was still like, it was so awesome, you know, and that's kind of what started it. And then, yeah, that was it just kept continuing from there. We just kept doing random weekend trips where we'd just like look at a map and we didn't even really know that there was the extent of skate parks that there were in Georgia until we started looking it up. So we just kind of find a random town in Georgia. We're like, just look at a map and like pick a spot in Georgia. And then we just find a skate park close to that and just drive there that night, like on a Friday night when we got off work. And we just show up to the skate park, set up a tent like at the bottom of the bowl or something, or in the woods next to it or something. If the bowl didn't look like we could sleep in it or something, and then we'd get up and ride the skate park the next day. And that's kind of just what we did on the weekend sometimes.
Just made it all happen. That's super cool, man.
Yeah, it was fun. It was a good time.
So now, what has it grown into now? Because I read stories of you guys being in Australia.
Yeah, so after that was when we were all living together, was when we were doing those random weekend trips and stuff. And and then I moved out here because I started dating a girl and ended up getting a really good like job set up and everything out here. So then I moved out here from Florida. I'm in Huntington Beach now, and so then I moved out here. We obviously weren't doing like the weekend trips anymore because we're on the opposite sides of the country. And one of the other guys moved out. He moved back to Melbourne, Florida, which was like it was like an hour away. And so we're all kind of like living a little further away from each other. And then another friend moved back to St. Louis. Another friend moved back to Texas. So we're just all over the place, and we didn't really get to see each other much. So we had been talking about doing a bigger trip like that. And we were like, we need to go to Australia, because one of our friends that has come and visit us a couple times, Troy, he has always told us like, yeah, you guys have like gave me a place to stay here. So if you come over there, you have a place to stay too. Just come over whenever. And we were like, all right, well maybe we'll do it one day, like never really thinking it would happen. And then one of my friends just kind of got the ball rolling on it, and we were all just like, they were like, oh, book my tickets. And we're all just like, what? You booked your tickets already? Like, we didn't even discuss anything. Like, so like he booked his tickets, and then another friend booked his, and then I found out like, whoa, like everybody's doing this. Like, I guess that maybe I could pull it off too. And then put it all together, and we all kind of ended up being able to go at the same time. And a couple of my friends, Rob and Mason, they ended up staying a little bit longer. Um, but yeah, I had to like come back because I had to work and stuff. But yeah, I mean that was awesome, and we're still trying to do stuff like that. Like we just recently did a Colorado trip because a couple of them are living in the Denver area now, so we just met out there, and then we were just riding around and doing a trip around in the mountains and riding skate parks up there, and camping and hammocking up on the side of a mountain and stuff, like wherever wherever we can figure out to do it the cheapest way possible, and also like being legal as possible. So so yeah, we're trying
That's
to
dude,
keep doing that even though we are still across the country from each other, you know.
it's so cool you can just jump up and go. I'm thinking about the Australia trip, and you like obviously most of you have jobs by now, and you got to pay for that trip to Australia somehow. And then on short notice like that, was it difficult to get off from work, or can you work from home and just fly out there?
So so that was before I was ever working from home. Like I've been working from home now since like April. Um, so yeah, we had never even had the option to work from home before, but I mean it was far enough in advance. I think it was still like a month or maybe a month and a half out from when I actually booked my tickets to when we left. So I did have time to like put in the request for the time off and everything. And I was actually only out there for 10 days. So it wasn't that long that I was there. So it wasn't like a huge deal that I was missing for that long from work. But I mean, obviously, you know, they still mess with me now. They're like, oh, you taking some time off soon? You gonna move to Australia for another month or two? Like, just always messing with me about that stuff. But yeah, I mean, it worked out, and like I'm super grateful that they are pretty understanding with like what I like to do, you know, and the other side thing that I'm trying to pull off, you know.
Yeah, that is pretty cool. So they know about like the business that you started here. I got this thing. I was like, how can I do this all professional? Like I can do screen share and then put it up on the screen for everybody to see on YouTube.
Oh, sweet.
So they can see, you can see it too, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so here's all the stuff that here's all the stuff, the website, what it looks like. That's just like the front page there, the collection of stuff that you guys have. And so who like did y'all collectively get together and start this thing like a bunch of your friends, or is it like solely like you just started going, hey, I want to do some shirts, or how did the website get started with the stuff and the design and all that good stuff?
So it kind of started off with like a small group of dudes that we were all riding together, and we were hanging out a bunch, and that was like the group that we would always go to the Taco Tuesday with when we were when my friend would go and he'd be like saying that he was too broke to get it. He was part of that group. We all kind of just sat around and we're just drawing up ideas and trying to come up with a logo and everything. And then, yeah, pretty much from there, it's just been, like I do all the designs, and then my friend Robert, he's his name on Instagram's Robert, what is it, Robert BMX 895. He's got like a pretty big following, so we kind of, I left him to the social media side of things, and he kind of takes care of all that. And then I kind of run the website and put the website together and design most of the stuff. So he obviously, we send the designs back and forth, and he'll approve of them or like tell me what to change and give suggestions on what to do or stuff like that. But pretty much I'm the one that does most of the website stuff. But he's like the he's like the media guy is pretty much what it is. Like he does all the like professional photos. He edits all the videos. We all take turns filming and stuff when we're on trips. But yeah, from the beginning it was just a small group of people, and now pretty much me and Rob are the only ones that are still fully involved, at least like financially and creatively. So the rest of the people, like
As
we
far
all
as it,
consider them like still part of it, but yeah.
so yeah, I mean, it's so rad that you do like that you made. Did you pick up like the website's great, the blog's awesome. Like from what I read and the pictures I'm kind of showing everybody here of the pictures and the blog and like the scenes, you guys get to experience this stuff, and it all came from your love of bike riding together. I mean, BMX stuff and skate parks, and then it's really cool to see. Like looking at this picture right here that's on the screen, you guys started this with a on the off the cuff trip to New Orleans,
Yeah,
and then
exactly.
it leads into seeing sites like that right there, like where you're just, you're seeing stuff like that, and you have a website now, and like product lines all like that you're shipping out to people. So I mean, it's pretty rad that you can just get an idea. Did you jump on it right away? Did it gradually build, or did you guys like know, hey, if we're going to do this, we're going to go all in right away?
It was definitely more of like a gradual build thing. Like we started off with just a couple shirts. Like we pretty much had just the Dagger long sleeves, and then there was another one on there called just the Dagger tee. Those were like the first ones that we ever came out with. And we just wanted to see like how many we'd sell, or if people would even want to buy them. And then pretty much we were just thinking like, worst case scenario, we got to make shirts that we like, and we get to wear clothes that we designed, like, yeah, that's the one I'm wearing right now actually. But um that was the first shirt that we designed and put out together. And people liked them, and we ended up selling out of those pretty quick. And one of the things we were trying to do was not uh not restock them, just so we could kind of keep it fresh all the time. And whenever they sell out, we were just going to do like a limited run thing of everything. But that one was actually one of the more popular ones, and we ended up restocking it now, I think twice. So
That's, I mean, I've always thought that's a great idea. In the CrossFit community, they do one like where the shoes are nobles, right? They do limited runs of the different colors and schemes. So once that's out, it's out until they decide to restock it. You don't know when it's going in. They have a few that they keep kind of regular, but I thought that was a great idea because it creates demand for that product. So like it creates, if you want it, you got to get it before it's gone, especially if it's something that's really cool. Like this shirt is so awesome. Like it has the knife down the elbow. Like if you're going to get a tattoo, like, oh, that'd be pretty sweet right there, you know? Um,
yeah,
and just the whole design is super sick, man. I really like it a lot.
thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, this one, it's still one of my favorite ones we've ever made. Like we have so many different colors of it now too. And um yeah, I'm still stoked on it to this day. I think we'll probably end up like making more colors in the future of the same design, just because it's probably our most popular one. We still have a couple of the black ones in stock, but other than that, I think we're pretty much sold out of all of them at this point.
Has it spread through like the BMX community? or any other community for that matter. But really, since you guys are involved in BMX, has it spread through the BMX community where you get like a bunch of high level rider, like pro riders on like getting stuff and wearing your gear? Or do you, I mean, I don't know your situation either, like who's pro riders with you and who's not and whatnot, but are you guys spreading throughout that community, or is it just kind of like a wide variety of customers that you grab?
I would say it's pretty wide. I mean, I always kind of wanted to keep it from being just a BMX brand, because I didn't want to have, I didn't want to pinpoint just one demographic. Like if somebody else likes our stuff and they want to buy a shirt or something, like they would feel weird. They're like, oh, well, why would I buy this BMX company shirt if I don't ride BMX? Like, so that's why we didn't really want to pinpoint it as just BMX. And then we kind of started doing the whole, that whole tent line, and we have like the shirts with the orange tent on it. And that one was, that's the tent that we took to like all the skate parks, and we were just set up in the middle of the skate park, and we have like tons of photos of this tent just placed in so many different places. Like there's a couple that are just like in the middle of a bowl, or like next to my car, like in a Costco parking lot, or even like in a church parking lot at one point. Like it's just been like everywhere. So we were like, well, let's make a design with the orange tent on it. And then we started doing that. And then it kind of got the attention of, just more like outdoor people, and like people that go camping, and just like outdoorsy people that hike and everything. And so we've had that kind of demographic too, like people hitting us up and they're just like, yeah, I don't ride BMX, but you got me inspired to go and just pack up my tent and go on a random camping trip this weekend or something. So yeah, it's kind of more of a, wanted to make it, I guess the best word is like a, I don't know, lifestyle brand, I guess. But
It sounds so
yeah, I
cheesy
mean,
to say that, doesn't it? Like if you say that out loud.
I know. Yeah, whenever someone's like, "Yeah, I run a lifestyle brand," like I just imagine like, the dude with the camera on his face, like vlogging or something. I don't know, which is also something we try to avoid all the time. Like we don't want to come off as cringy ever, but it's so hard not to be sometimes. Like I don't know, the struggle.
Well, how do you've got to put, I mean, I do the same thing with the podcast, right? And the stuff that I'm doing, like trying to promote it. You don't ever want to look like that cheesy person that's doing that. But then how do you put the content out otherwise? You've got to make videos, you've got to do this, you've got to do it. And what I'm discovering, I should say, like it's a constant evolution, is just as long as I do it where I'm being myself, then everything's going to work out just fine with it. Like it seems to go better when I'm just like, I'm not like putting pressure on it to find a different thing to do. It's like, how would I say that in a normal situation, sitting here with my kids, like wanting to make a joke or be silly or say something, and then just do that. And then just roll with it that way and post it and forget about it.
Yeah,
But yeah, it's very, very weird. But you guys being BMXers, like you got to get that content right there, and people are like all the time are going to be amazed with like whatever people are doing at any level. Because I know I don't know, like I said, I don't know where you guys are at. If any of you guys are pro riders, if you have been before sponsored, what you guys are doing. But as far as like when you get involved in something and you start making it certain levels up, like you get better and better from when you were a grom, then you can start to do these tricks and you start to shred and do these other things. You start to surround yourself with people who are really good, and so you never realize, like you never fully realize that what level you're on. You always think that you're kind of at the bottom of the barrel and you can be better. You know what I mean? When you get to a certain spot, you
yeah,
never focus on like, man, I'm pretty good at this. You're like, no, I'm not that good at all. Like, why do people want to videotape me?
yeah. Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. Like that happens all the time. Like especially being out here where this is, I mean, where I am is pretty much like the hot spot for BMX. So all of the best riders are out here like all the time. So I'll show up to a skate park thinking I'm going to be the only bike there, and then one of the best bull riders in the world just shows up, and he's just airing 10 feet out of like a 10-foot quarter pipe and going twice the speed that I ever would, and I'm just like, wow. I need to go faster. Like, so you're like with that, but then you're also, you ride with your friends that are around your same like riding level, and you kind of push each other, but you don't really feel like you're like, wow, I need to step it up. But
Yeah, it's
that,
important. It is important to see that, like to see those guys that are going fast, like the guys that do it. I remember, so back in the 90s, I went to an X Games, right? And I was not like that crazy good. I really wasn't good at all. But I'll just go for stuff. And so I'm up there, and that back then you didn't have YouTube or anything. So the only way to really get it was to see it in person happen. And so then I'm around all these pros and I'm watching them and what they're doing. We went street skating with them a little bit, and I'm going, oh, the level of skating went like jumped so fast. Like before that point, it was like a gradual thing. And then you see it happen in person. You go, he just did that trick. Like, whoa, my mind is like, all the possibilities start running, and then the creativity, you're like, ooh, then you start adding things on. So the jump goes crazy when you see stuff like that. So when you go back with your peers, your guys that do at the same level as you, then you're going to push yourself to like, hey, I want to try what that dude did at the bowl the other day. And maybe not 10 feet, but I'll get 5 feet out the bowl.
yeah, and that actually does happen all the time. Like even with our small group of people that are involved in FTE, just like, but actually to go back to your question before, none of us are pro, but a couple are like sponsored riders. Like there's a couple of the dudes in Denver that are sponsored by a company called Tree, and then another one is sponsored by actually I don't know what his current sponsored status is right now, so I'm not going to say any names, but one of our friends in Florida, he's sponsored, and then our friend in Australia is sponsored, all just by different bike companies. But yeah, I mean, none of us are like pro. Like we wouldn't compete at a pro level or anything. At least I don't think so. But it being surrounded even from just the people we've been riding with in our respective areas, like we've all done the same thing. Like watching this dude do this, or like even like a pocket air, like on a rounded corner where they air from like the one side and kind of curve around it and land on the other side. And like that was something that before I was like, oh, well, I'm not going to do that. And then now I seeing it in person, I'm like, that looks way more doable now. Like, and maybe I could try it. So we've all kind of been like progressing a little bit like that, even though we've been riding for so long. And we used to do like way more tricks back then. At least I'm speaking for a couple of the dudes that just ride bowls and stuff like I do now. But yeah, we're like watching all of these riders that we look up to now doing these crazy pocket airs and airing out of like a 12-foot bowl with like pool coping that sticks out pretty far, and like even getting over that like 2 feet or something is like, that's an achievement to us. We're like, wow, that's crazy. I got like even this high out of it because you have to go so fast to get to that point anyway. So like that's like our level of like getting stoked on something, because we watch someone else and we're like, well, maybe I can do that, but at a smaller scale, even though it's not like, super impressive or anything to some people. But
I mean, it's only not super impressive to the people who are another
yeah,
level up, like to people who just like ride around or just start like, just casually watching it, they'd be like, oh my gosh, that's crazy what he's doing, and then there's certain technical aspects. I thought about this the other day, and this is just a random thing, but I'm sure it's the same in bike riding. I saw one of Rick Thorne's posts the other day, and he was explaining the difference between one of the little airs that he did and in detail. And it got like, it's the same thing with skateboarding a lot and with rollerblading, is that there's some things you're going to look at on such a high level. You'll be like, oh, well, I mean, I just saw that dude do it the other day, and you don't realize they did it switch, or they did it on like the type of terrain that they're on, and they made it look super easy. Like there's a bunch of technical things in there that they do, that people do, that you're like, only people on the inside know like how hard or difficult that actually really was. Like it looks a lot easier, and you go, oh no, that's way harder than what it looked.
yeah, exactly. And that happens so much for the stuff that we like to do, because to some people it's either like, wow, that's crazy that you're even doing that, and then to some people you just see someone like going around in circles in a bowl and like airing out of different corners and landing in different ones. They're like, that doesn't look that crazy. But if you know like the technical aspect of it, it's way crazier to someone that like knows and has tried it. So yeah, it's definitely like wherever you're coming from, like the insider's point of view.
Yeah, and you guys, you'll see it like you said that 2-inch lip. You're like, oh, that guy. You know what? Tony Hawk goes way further above the coping than that. And you go, oh, but that lip sticks out. Have you ever tried to roll over that lip? I mean, it's something that they would never understand until you get on it and you go do it. So I just started thinking about that. It's just a funny thought that went through my head of like, wow, there's so many things that I look at the TV screen and go, that was amazing. And everybody else like, I have no idea why. I'm like, that's awesome. It's my favorite clip. I want to post it on my Instagram. And like, this guy's rad. I mean, it's awesome. Like they're amazed still, but not on the same level of me going like, this was incredible.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. That happens so much. It's crazy.
Yeah. So where is this for the experience thing? Like, where are you planning on taking this thing? Is it like a serious goal that you have? And how long have you had this thing? Like, how long has the website been going up where you've been selling product?
So I think technically we started it in 2015. That was like when we actually put the whole thing together, and I think at least started the design of our first shirt. But I think we released stuff in 2016 was our first like actual release date of clothes. But yeah, I mean it's kind of like it's one of those things where like I'm working a full-time job and at a BMX company, and like I love it. Like I don't want to change anything about it. It's an awesome job, but it's one of those things where like doing the whole FTE thing would be super cool. Even if I could do that as a full-time job, that'd be awesome. But it's at the point where it's like it's kind of like an after work thing. Like once I get off, I'll start working on designs or come home and pack orders or whatever that come in, and yeah, I mean, I would love to take it further and like do bigger stuff with it and do bigger trips or even like work with other companies or something that are trying to help us out or like get our name out there or something and they want to, support us on a trip or something. Like I'm willing to do any of that stuff, Like I'm down to do whatever with it. If it stays as like a smaller thing that like we've been doing, just like a little side gig thing, like I'm still cool with that too. I mean, pretty much at this point, like we're not investing anything in the company personally, like financially. So the company's just fully self-sufficient. Like any money that we make just goes right back into it, and that pays for the new batch of stuff we're gonna make. So it's just like just like a constant cycle of just like selling stuff, printing stuff, selling stuff, printing stuff, and that's just how it's been now pretty much since the beginning. I mean, there's been a couple times where we've done like a bigger run of something or like maybe did like jackets where they're more expensive or something and we had to like invest a couple like a little bit more money or something like that, but for the most part it's just kind of been self-sufficient, and it's cool. Just pretty much I look at it as like I get to design clothes that I like and that my friends like and that we all like and we all want to wear, and that's pretty much it. So, and I mean, I'm down for anything to happen with it. If it decides to like something goes crazy and it blows up one day and it becomes a full time thing, like I'll do that. I'm not really against it at all. So it'd be cool to do that too.
It's kind of wild though that you could probably still work for that BMX company and have this thing like grow like crazy. You're kind of set up in a cool position with that where if you're working for this bike company and you can have this other clothing company, going, it's on the internet, you can hire people to help ship it out unless it's like you just wanted to leave the BMX company, but like BMX is your life, you're kind of working. I love to see it when people are like working in the industry that their passion is in. So that's a really, really cool thing. And now you've got this other thing on the side. I think the whole thing is really cool, man.
Yeah, it's been awesome. I mean, like even moving out here in the first place, moved from Florida where there's not really a huge, I mean, there is a huge BMX scene, but like not industry wise, I guess. Like there's a couple pros and there's like a couple companies that have their headquarters out there in Orlando, but out here is like a whole different world where you come out here and there's like every pro that you've seen like riding at skate parks or like their clip like goes viral on Instagram or something. Excuse me. Um, you just like see them at the skate park, and then you see like the dude that owns the company at the skate park, and you see just like there's just like everybody out here. And when I first moved out here, I didn't really expect to be involved in the industry as much. And then somehow got this job at S&M Bikes and Fit, and S&M's been one of my favorite companies for such a long time, and always thought they were so sick, and because they have like roots in trails and stuff, and that's kind of what I grew up on, so that was a that was a super cool thing to be able to get a job opportunity in. And now, yeah, I mean, now I think it even has helped meeting people through S&M too. Like I've still, I get the opportunity to meet all these different riders, and like then they know people, and I just have all these different like connections that I've made since I've moved out here and met these people and started working this job. And I think it could be beneficial either way.
Does it get nerve wracking when the owners of the company and the pros show up there at the skate park? Like, is it a little like when you first moved out there, especially, is it like a little bit nerve wracking? Like, oh, now I have to drop in the bowl with like this guy watching. Like, this is kind of crazy.
Yeah, when I first moved out here, it was like that a lot. Like, because I would show up, and most of my favorite riders live close to here. So I would show up, and some of my favorite riders that I've been looking up to for a long time would just be at the skate park. And I'd be like, well, I'm not going to ride in front of them. Like, what? Why would I ride? I'm just going to sit here and watch them ride. Like, that's what I want to do. But then, everybody's so cool all the time. Like, you're sitting up like on the deck of the bowl, and then one of your favorite riders is like, "Yo, dude, like you could drop in. Like you haven't gone in a while. It's your turn." And I'll just be like, "All right, I guess I'll go." Like it's just one of those things where like it is like super nerve wracking because obviously they're not going to judge you. Like they're at such a high level of riding now that I feel like they've gotten used to it. They don't really view other people's levels of riding as like, they're like, well, that guy's not very good. Like, I don't think they're going to judge anyone, but you still have that, like you're like, well, I'm going to ride this bowl that this dude just destroyed like 15 seconds ago, and I'm going to look really weak compared to what he just did. So, yeah, definitely was nerve wracking at first, but I guess I've kind of just gotten used to it at this point. Now I kind of view them as like, you know, friends. Like you show up to the skate park and you're like, oh, BMX dudes, and then you're all just having a session together, and it's not really as crazy anymore.
Well, that's the one weird thing, and I wanted to get your perspective on it from a BMX side, and you're saying those guys show up there because usually those dudes go through the same thing that everybody else goes through. I mean, they started somewhere. They didn't just jump on a bike and start shredding it, right? Just like nobody does. They
Yeah.
all take their bumps and bruises and fall, and they suck at one point, and you know, they like it took a lot of practice and a lot of hard work to get to that level, like a lot of reps. And so I think most of the time when you get that high, you're like, I think those dudes probably go, yeah, I've been there. I know what it takes. Like, if I make fun of this dude, like somebody was making fun of me, trying these things, like I'm not going to make fun of him. He's out there and he's in the bowl. Like he's trying to get better. He's trying to do these crazy tricks. He's pushing his limits. So, and we're all just rolling around on wheels having fun. This is one of those things. But I think and it's with everything. It's with professional sports. It's with anything. They've gone through every level. They've been from the bottom to the very top. And they know what it's like to be at this level. And they know what it's like to be at that level and trying to get better and how difficult it is. So I think there's a respect level there. We're like, oh, yeah, come on, man. Jump in the bowl. You're not going to learn if you don't.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I've noticed too. And I think that's exactly what it is. They're like, well, why not try to like push someone to progress? Because that's what I would have wanted when I was at that level, you know. And that a lot like everybody out here, like I mean, at least most people, I'd say, they don't really have like that type of ego where they're like too cool to like help someone out, you know, or like push them to be like, dude, you were like so close to getting that. Just try it again. You'll get it next time. Like, and I've seen like even with like younger kids that are trying to do their first like bar spin or like even just like smaller tricks, like a 180 out of a quarter pipe or something. Like you'll see these dudes that are like top five like best riders like in their whatever style of riding, and they're still like helping out this little kid. So yeah, it's pretty cool to see it actually, especially being around so many of them. Like there's just so many higher level riders here, and like you don't really expect them to be so personable and even just like helpful when it comes to like younger kids that are looking up to them and they're getting helped out by one of their idols, you know. It's super sick.
It's something that's really funny. And then I've also noticed, and especially with the podcasting, getting to talk to a bunch of people, is that sports or activities where you can get severely injured in and it's like dangerous and falling hurts, you can't have an ego. Like your ego almost can't exist at that point because that overconfidence and thinking, man, concrete is a equalizer. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's an equalizer to slam on the concrete. So it'll humble you very, very quickly, like when you fall. So I just I don't see how. I think that's why so many action sports people are so cool that I've met, is because it's very humbling to know, like, slams hurt. Like it
Yeah.
doesn't matter how good I am, if I mess up, it's gonna hurt real bad.
Yeah, exactly. It happens to everyone too. So it's not like you're the only one, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I guess let everybody know where they can find your stuff. I know we pulled it up on the screen, but tell them where they can find the For the Experience stuff and go support your all the stuff that you guys are doing, and check out the blogs. Do you guys have a YouTube channel?
Yeah, so like we'll usually film our trips that we do, like just even just random ones that we did on the weekends or whatever. And we have the whole series of the whole Australia trip actually. Like the whole thing is filmed throughout the whole trip that I did. And then even after I left, they continued filming. So it's FTE Collective on YouTube, and it's ftecollective.com is our website. And then on Instagram we are fte.collective. So that's pretty much all the
Sweet,
spots
man.
that we use.
Sweet. And they can catch you there, order the stuff, get all the things. Man, thanks, James. This was awesome, dude. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, no problem, man. Thanks for having me.